Hello, everybody. This is week 3 of the weekend roundup. We are
back.
steaming right along. We're just making moves, seeing what we can. It's been a pretty quiet week overall this week. We're
not much at the Foothills 12 this week.
So, I, your host, Zach Davis, and co-host.
Hello, I'm Emmy Davis.
We have a pretty quiet week to report for you guys, so in lieu of the things that have not been in the theaters this week, we watched some stuff in our homes, and we're going to tell you a little bit about what we got. So we'll discuss a couple of things that we checked out this week, including Anna Kendrick's debut film, which Emily checked out over the weekend, Woman of the Hour.
It was a movie.
It was something.
You'll hear all my thoughts about it.
Yeah, I did some rewatches. I checked out some stuff that I've already seen before, but just some recommendations and things. But primarily, we're going to be talking about Here, which is the new Robert Zemeckis Tom Hanks movie. We actually just got out of a showing of this one a couple hours ago. Interesting stuff to be found here. We'll have a discussion a little bit later about that.
Here.
Pun intended. I have not been able to get that damn song from the trailer. The time is time. It's been stuck in my head for like a week. I'm even after the movie, I was sitting in the bathroom like, God, just get out of my head.
My Boogie Nights song, Brand New Key by Melanie. They played 2 Boogie Nights songs, as a matter of fact. My Boogie Nights song.
Yeah, I don't claim that one. I'm sorry. But that
maybe not a good one to claim now that I'm thinking about when it happens in the movie, but just listening to the soundtrack, that's one that I always love.
The pure like cynicism of how that song functions in Boogie Nights scares the pants off me. That I can't listen to that song regularly.
Statement redacted.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll take what was the other one that they played? Damn it. I fooled around and fell in love. That was the one that I pinned. I was like, all right, I'm good with that. Anyway, so that we'll talk about here a little bit more in depth as we go through this. But first, let's talk about some news from this week. So trailers were a little more quiet than they have been for the past couple of weeks.
Just a quiet week all around, really.
Yeah, it's been, the gearing up for award season has moved into neutral for this week. Next week is going to absolutely explode. There's a bunch of limited releases and wide releases that are going to be happening next week that will be major factors in the Academy Awards season this year.
We'll be able to see Anora not this Thursday, but next Thursday. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
We will also be at the Knoxville Film Festival next Thursday, so we're going to have to, we're going to be slotting our time between screens, so I'm much looking forward to that. I would, at some point, like to go see Anora in the 35mm print at the Belcourt Theater in Nashville. Oh. Shout out to the Belcourt. Absolutely love that little theater. I've only been there one time, and the one time we went and saw Boogie Nights in 35mm, and I don't think I will ever go anywhere else for another projection like that. It was
fantastic. It was what a great night we had.
Oh
what a wonderful night that was.
It was a boogie night for sure.
It was Boogie Nights.
I roller skated by your window last night. Okay, let's talk about some trailers that came out this week. So first and foremost, we've been talking about it a couple times on the show already, but Luca Guadagnino's Queer received its first official trailer this week, which included a lot of content from a scene that had already been previously released from it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of. I can't say I watched the trailer, but I have seen a lot of stills from it that
I did check it out
to not entice me,
just for the sake of informing the people. And yeah, I mean, it's more Luca Guadagnino stuff. It looks like it could get pretty heady in the back half of it. This is starring Daniel Craig and Drew Starkley primarily, who. I may have previously mentioned this before, but basically it's a story about Daniel Craig, who has been extradited from the U.S. into Mexico City, and it looks like he's just moving around the nightlife in Mexico City, making some close friends, potentially doing a little bit more than that. And by more, I do not mean any kind of betting. I do mean potentially drugging and doing some wild stuff with his homies that he meets down there. So could be something interesting. I will probably be checking this one out at some point. It could be interesting. It'll be one of the more likely Luca Guadagnino movies out of the 2 that he's done this year that I will go see.
Okay.
So anyway. Moving on from Queer, we've talked about it enough at this point, but Presence is a new Steven Soderbergh movie that's coming on January 24th. This is Steven Soderbergh's the guy that did the Ocean's movies. He did Logan Lucky, did Magic Mike. He's been around for a pretty good while and has been really making I mean, the
confused
Ocean's
with
movies
Stephen
speak for
Sondheim.
themselves. Huh?
Not to be confused with Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah, completely correct.
My brain went somewhere else for half a second, then I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We are not talking about musicals right now.
No, we are not. Magic Mike is kind of a musical. I have never seen a Magic Mike movie.
I haven't seen it either.
But I have seen Logan Lucky, which he also did, which is absolutely hilarious.
I've seen the Oceans.
Also starring Daniel Craig.
The Ladies' Oceans.
Was that Ocean's 8?
11?
No, I think it was 8.
8, maybe? I don't know.
Because 11 was
I
the
just remember
first
Sandra
Ocean's
Bullock.
movie.
And I love
Yeah, I think
Bullock.
it was Ocean's 8. I remember seeing that movie in theaters several years ago. It was not my first
did not
choice
see
for
it
the
in
movie that we went to go see that night, but hey, nature of the beast. Anyway, he's doing a new movie. It's called Presence. It's starring Lucy Liu of Charlie's Angels and Kill Bill fame. And it's
I hate Kung Fu Panda.
supposed to be like a haunted house ghost story. Looks like it's like really claustrophobically shot. The trailer has some really good full focal length shots of what almost feels like you're in the shoes of the ghost watching these people. I think it could devolve into something interesting. I just from that trailer, I was like, ooh, that could be nice. So yeah, that'll be coming January 24th. I'll definitely be checking that one out. And there were a couple of other trailers I just wanted to note here for the sake of pop culture stuff, but these are for TV series more than anything. Squid Games 2 got a trailer this week.
Woo!
Congratulations to everybody on planet Earth who has seen Squid Games. You're getting the second season of it, and the dude is going to have red hair. You remember when he had red hair at the end of season 1? He's going to have red hair again.
I can't say that I'm not excited.
I didn't even see the trailer, but
I didn't either, but I can't say, like, I liked the first season of Squid Games. It's been a while, I feel like.
It's probably their most watched series. I honestly don't know the numbers on it, but I would imagine that it's one of Netflix's most watched series.
And that's really cool for it to be like a non-English speaking series to be one of regardless. I mean, I think that Stranger Things might be their most watched series. I could be wrong.
I would definitely say that's.
But hey, this isn't a
anything.
TV podcast. This is a movie podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. Korean media, we love it.
It's great. Old Boy.
Old Boy. Park Chan Wook, Bong Joon Ho. Those are the fellas. We'll definitely be talking Parasite.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
In the coming weeks, there's a Criterion Collection copy of it that's on sale right now that I am desperately trying to get my hands on, and I will be getting my hands on.
Well,
but
I'll get my hands on it for you. Merry Christmas.
I gotta wait until Christmas? No. No, I will watch Parasite on my own time if I need to between then, but I'm very much looking forward to watching it again.
Moving on from Squid Games and Korean media, how wonderful it is.
Just a continuation of my little TV dividend here. We're going to talk about Star Wars: The Skeleton Crew, which, just a touchstone, and since we've already mentioned Stranger Things, this is looking to be Star Wars Stranger Things in the form and fashion where it's trying to do the Goonies a little bit. It's trying to do a little bit of the 80s nostalgia thing where it's like these group of kids are off on an adventure and are way in over their heads. And
that's a big thing these days.
Yeah, congratulations. Star Wars.
Yeah.
What has even happened to Star Wars? I don't think I've watched a Star Wars property in at least 6 or 7 years. I have no care for it. And with that being such a fundamental part of my youth, while the prequels were coming out, that was a major thing, and we had the cup. I was going to talk about the holographic cup. I did not get a holographic cup for The Force Awakens. Yeah, we'll leave that be. I'm going to leave the 7 through 9 just laying in a ditch somewhere. They can do whatever they want to. However many millions of dollars those movies made. Okay, that's about it for trailers. If you desperately want to, seek out the Squid Games 2 trailer, seek out the Star Wars: The Skeleton Crew trailer. I'm not going to stop you, but definitely check out Presence and check out Queer if you're interested. If you like Challengers, you're probably going to find some fascination in this.
Hey, if you like to call me by your name, I feel like you'll really find some fascination in this.
Yeah, Bones and All, and what was the other one? The Big Splash?
I don't know.
Bigger Splash, something like that. That's on. I think it's on HBO. It's an interesting movie. It's not particularly right up my alley, but I think it's got some interesting stuff going for it. Anyway, I've talked about Guadagnino more than any director that I actually care about on this podcast by now. Anyway, so let's move on to a director that I actually care about with some other news. Quentin Tarantino. He refuses to watch the Dune movies.
Says he's already seen the story.
He's already seen the David Lynch stuff. He doesn't need another Dune movie.
He's good.
Tarantino, this may be the first time in a long time that I disagree with you. I have listened to Tarantino's whole cinema speculation book, and he's got a lot of hot takes in there that are very well educated, and I think he does an excellent job in communicating them. This is not one of them. I think that the new Dune movies are top notch.
I think it's some of the best sci-fi fantasy that we've seen period. Period. But also, like, when was the last time we had something that grand come out in
Slay.
Huh?
Slay.
Slay.
I was laying on my comment of period.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dune absolutely rocks. I remember seeing the first
Slay.
Dune when my family was taking a trip to Mexico, and I was reading the book alongside watching the movie at the same time.
He wouldn't shut up about it. We're in Mexico, and he's just talking about this book and this movie, and I was like, we're in Mexico, and then I watched
Dune's
it, and I was like, oh,
for decades, but
understood. Understood.
When I discovered it, that's when it really came to life. The Dune and Dune Part 2 absolutely do not miss this current age cinema. And Denis Villeneuve, I mean, I am from a generation that is growing up with directors like Villeneuve, and I saw Arrival when it was in theaters. I didn't catch Prisoners or Incendie or anything like that. But I think I've seen every project of his since Arrival in theaters, and he continues to. I mean, I talked about him with Roger Deakins last week, and Deakins getting freed up to work on Dune 3.
Prisoners is like one of my number one recommendations for like thrillers and stuff. Like, if anybody ever asks me, like, Prisoners, such a good movie.
Want to see Paul Dano doing Paul Dano stuff? Here's
great.
A movie for you. Okay, yeah, Tarantino refuses to watch the Dune remake and loved Joker Folie à Deux. He said that Todd Phillips is the Joker. He loves that he just threw up a middle finger to Hollywood, and he's just like, you guys suck. I think this movie is awesome. And, maybe he's huffed too many feet, but that's an interesting take from Mr. Tarantino. I wish he would.
Is crazy.
I need to see him watch Babylon in real time, because
yes, and that's exactly what I was just thinking when you said that.
Any
about the
movie
Joker.
To talk about where they're throwing a middle finger to Hollywood, it's Babylon. And
it's a love letter to cinema and a middle finger to Hollywood. It's great.
Very similar stories between these two and their box office releases. Babylon, of course, is the follow-up to Damien Chazelle's La La Land. He did one movie, I think it was First Man, between La La Land and Babylon, which was kind of a one for you, one for me situation. So he does La La Land. They, of course, in grand form, lose the Oscar to Moonlight. He does First Man with Brad Pitt, and it kind of does okay. I don't think I've ever seen First Man, but I've heard it is far from like the most important of Chazelle's 4-movie roster now. And then he does Babylon, and it flops ridiculously hard. It's this big, bombastic musical movie.
We only watched it this past year, and it is... I can't tell you how many times throughout the 3 hours of it that we looked at each other and said,
How do people think this movie is bad?
Well, that, and how did it take us this long to watch this movie?
Yeah.
Like, what a movie.
There are certainly some parts of that movie, when you really dig into it, that do fall apart on a scale, but...
For sure. It is by no means a perfect movie.
However, the parts of it that work are outstanding, and more of it works than doesn't work. And, there are just so many sequences of that movie that's fantastic. I definitely recommend Babylon. I also recommend not watching the first 30 minutes of Babylon with anybody that you would be uncomfortable showing any nudity to, because man, oh man, it is just
There's
debauchery. We will probably talk about that on a weekly highlight at some point, because we've watched it so many times at this point, but it's top-notch stuff.
I think we've seen it like 5 or 6 times this year, at least.
Easily. Yeah, so, Mr. Tarantino, I would like you to watch Babylon and comment the same thing that you did about Folie à Deux. I would like to see what your opinion is on that, and let's move on. There's a Jack Ryan movie in the works with John Krasinski. He is still just doing the Jack Ryan character. I have not seen the Prime series. Cool. Moving on. Latvia's entry into the Academy Awards this year is Flow, which is an animated movie about a cat that has its home destroyed by a flood and gets on a boat and has to work with a bunch of different species to get along. This is Noah's Ark meets The Wild Robot.
This has been popping up on my Instagram feed a lot lately, and as I've mentioned, I'm a big fan of animated movies. I loved The Wild Robot. This is what I want to see.
I'm very excited for this one. The news for this is it just got a poster this week. There is a trailer out there. I think it came out the week before we started doing the podcast, so definitely go check that out. That's Flow, just FLOW. It looks awesome. I'll link that one down in the description below too. Moving on, Jeremy Allen White, Hollywood's favorite boy, the Bears one and only, Mr. Lip. He's cruising, Mr. Lip. Cruising right through. He's had a pretty successful career over the past couple of years.
He's killing it right now.
Absolutely been murdering it ever since the Bears started showing. And then, with the Iron Claw last year and with a bunch of his different performances, he's really moving up the chain. So he is going to be portraying Mr. Bruce Springsteen in an upcoming biopic. I'm looking forward to this one. I think Jeremy Allen White is a better pick for Bruce Springsteen than Timothée Chalamet is for Bob Dylan.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
We are just going to continuously be moving through an era of these nostalgia trip films where it's just talking about these people's lives, and it's gonna.
We've seen a lot of biopics in the last 10 years.
Yeah, with the Amy Winehouse stuff that came out earlier this year, with the Bob Marley that came out earlier this year. There's just so many of these different musical biopics that are happening right now, and hopefully,
I think the Queen movie, really, Bohemian Rhapsody, really set it off a lot.
Yes, I would agree. Moving into Rocket Man and
yes, because that was like immediately followed by Rocket Man almost.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one scene in that movie that continuously pops up on my YouTube feed, and it's the I'm Still Standing music video side by side. Pretty cool stuff. But yeah, overall, Rocket Man, wasn't a huge fan. I think Bohemian Rhapsody was better, but still not great. I think
Taron Egerton, is that his name?
Taron Egerton.
Taron Egerton. I think he just got that role because he was the gorilla in Sing and sung the same song. He sung I'm Still Standing. And he killed it.
He's in Guerrilla Warfare too, I believe.
Well, Monkey Man.
Let's move.
More news, please.
Moving on with some big releases this week. So now this is blending in a little bit with what I was talking about earlier with the real award season is beginning to start. We have got this upcoming weekend, Anora, Juror Number 2, Blitz, A Real Pain, and Heretic. The 5 that are going to be both limited and wide releasing. I think Heretic, A Real Pain, and Anora are going wide release this week. Juror Number 2 and Blitz are still a little bit limited. I will be trying to check out all of these movies. These look awesome. Anora, of course, we talked about a little bit before, is Sean Baker's new entry this year. Sean Baker, most famous for his movie The Florida Project, which I still have not seen, and I'm putting on my list before I go see Anora. It's looking like it's going to be a front runner for most of the awards this year. I don't think it'll be a sweeper, but I think it'll be a big one.
I'm excited. Like we've talked about this before, and we've seen the trailer multiple times, and it's never really enticed me. But with all the buzz it's getting, and from critics that I really care about, I'm super excited.
Yeah, I am majorly looking forward to this one. So we'll be checking that out. Juror Number 2, the next one on the list, is Clint Eastwood's newest movie. After his last two, Cry Macho and The Mule. Cry Macho, not a big fan of. The Mule, I thought was awesome. Richard Jewell is a very bold choice in movie making. I have to check that one out again. I watched that a couple years ago when it came out, and I haven't seen it since. But anyway, Juror Number 2, Nicholas Hoult, could be fun. Could be an interesting little Clint Eastwood time.
Who's the lady in that? Because
that's a good question.
On. Keep talking and I'll look it up.
Okay, I'm gonna move into Blitz, which is Steve McQueen's newest movie. It follows the story of a group of Londoners during the events of the British Capitol bombing.
It's Toni Collette.
Oh, Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Duh. I was trying to think of who the. Yeah, I now I remember. That
I was like, I know it's someone I'm excited about. Duh, Toni Collette. Love her.
She just rules.
I get her and Frances McDormand confused an embarrassing amount of times.
I get her mixed up with a demon.
She's scary.
She very Hereditary. Blitz is coming out on November 1st. Looks like it'll be a World War II drama with a little bit more to say than just being a World War II drama. I'm excited for that one. It looks like it could be good. And then A Real Pain. If you've been to the theaters lately to see anything smaller, you've probably seen a trailer for this movie. But this is Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin as I think two brothers or like two very good friends that are going on a trip together. Two brothers
or like cousins or something like that.
This looks like as Zach Davis core as it gets. I cannot wait just to see. I'm going to talk about Sideways a little bit in this episode, which is just another movie about two guys that have been best friends for a long time going on a trip together. And I love stuff like that. I just love seeing boys reckon with,
this seems like a very similar dynamic to Sideways, where, like you said, we'll talk about this later, but you have the charismatic guy, and then you have the weirdo, which seems to be a very popular dynamic. I wonder why.
It's a fitting one. It makes a framework for a lot of good commentary about, the different ways that we view things, the ways that some people are just more happy-go-lucky generally than others, the way that some people, though creatives, I'm saving it all for Sideways. I'm sorry, I'm getting too ahead of myself.
Anyways, Jesse Eisenberg,
November 1st.
Kieran Culkin. Can't wait.
I can almost tell you to go check this one out without hesitation, but I have to go see it first before I do that. Just another note, I haven't mentioned this one yet, but Friendship.
Oh, yes. This is the one that I always connect with A Real Pain.
I've been hotly thinking about double featuring these movies whenever the opportunity arises, but it'll be A Real Pain with Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin, followed by Friendship with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson of I Think You Should Leave fame. And my God, I Think You Should Leave is the best sketch show that we've had on TV in
constantly
decades.
Quoted in our house.
It is generationally defining sketch material. I think that it is truly like Tim Robinson's story of failing to SNL and then going in and making this project on his own time after his work on Detroiters makes him a little bit of money. That guy's got my support all the way. He is so unbelievably funny.
You can't not laugh. And we've watched it a nauseating amount of times, and it's still funny every time.
I think he is an absolute wizard of comedy. That's Friendship. I don't think there's an anticipated release date of that one, but it did get bought immediately out of the festival season this year for big distribution. So it'll probably be an early next year kind of thing. I think they're probably trying not to compete with A Real Pain. I'm wondering if there's going to be some similar commentary across the two of those. I would not be surprised at all if there is.
I remember, but didn't Friendship get announced before A Real Pain?
It did. I think A Real Pain kind of broke around the same time, but it had already secured distribution, so Friendship's kind of like working through the marketing phase and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So we'll definitely check out A Real Pain. Heretic is coming out next weekend. This is a Hugh Grant psychological horror movie. I'm a little on the fence about this one. It feels like it's going to fall into like some of the not as much of the airport novel commentary of Conclave, but it sounds like it could have some faith-based challenging stuff going on to it, so it'll be interesting. I'm curious to check it out. I'll be going to see it
this week.
Are you?
Probably. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I will probably check it out at some point. Emilia Perez is going to be coming to Netflix on November 13th, which is another supposed front runner for Best Actress this year in Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, it's a musical, and it's got Selena Gomez in it.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Woohoo. She had some hot hits. When you're ready, come and get it.
And it is Emilia Perez, and it is coming to Netflix November 13th.
Well played.
We're
getting better at segues.
Hey.
Red 1 will be coming out November 15th. The first time I saw the trailer for this movie, I wanted to leave the theater. It's a movie about Santa Claus getting captured. and
I couldn't even remember
Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Chris Evans have to save him from whatever.
I think I just erased it from my memory.
I have this one marked as pass. If another movie in the vein of like, if you go see this, I can't help you anymore. I'm sorry. If you like to be thoroughly entertained, you'll have fun. Be fun. I had a conversation with somebody about Venom this weekend, and I was like, look, if you have an attachment to Venom and you go see this movie, you're probably going to have a good time. I do not, and I don't think it's offering anything to humanity. I feel like Red 1 is going to fall into that same bucket, but good for them for trying. Gladiator 2, however, is offering swords and sandals and Paul Mescal to humanity, which is more than enough for me. Paul Mescal and
Pedro Pascal.
And
the
Denzel,
double duo.
Are you kidding me? Denzel Washington is also in this movie.
Yeah, but I'm talking about my boys.
Don't you forget? Don't you forget who is King Kong in this mother?
I shan't, but I will remember my sexy little boys.
Yeah. Congratulations to the little boys. Emily's Little Boys Club.
Thank you.
Emily's Buff Little Boys. That's the Tim Robinson joke.
I'm going to make a Buff Little Boys Club.
No, you're not.
Just of actors, calm down.
We are not doing that. I don't have enough room in this house for Buff Little Boys.
I'm not going to put them here. It's just going to be a list.
Are you going to do like the trap thing where he has like multiple houses around the city?
No, I'm just going to do the thing where every once in a while on this podcast, I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of my Buff Little Boys. Congratulations, you just created a new bit.
Hey, I'm Mike.
I'm not
I'm Mike, I'm one of the Buff Boys. Moving on. Let's talk about Wicked. If you, again, have been to a theater anytime...
Jonathan Bailey, another one of Emily's Buff Little Boys.
In the past, 6 months, if you've been to a movie theater, especially AMC's, there's been this stupid little lead-in to every movie that does, a whole... No singing, no talking, and it's all intercut with scenes from Wicked. I cannot tell you how much I want to avoid Wicked. I passionately... Also, just putting part 1 in front of the movie immediately, you're just like, okay, great, I can't wait. Something has changed within me. I've seen
that's something that's going to change within you is going to it's wanting to go to Wicked.
This movie is going to make me wicked. Next up on the docket, we've got
just like Venom. This is your villain arc.
I just can't stand these movies. I'm sorry.
I will be seeing Wicked.
I want character studies. This is witchcraft.
Hey, but we have to talk about it all, and I'm okay to go see the stuff you don't want to see.
We sure are. Moana 2, we will probably both be seeing at some point now. Moana 2 is coming out on November 27th. This is going to be an interesting one. So Disney's had an interesting year. They have not really done a whole lot of anything with most of their live action properties, but they did find massive success in Inside Out 2 this year, which was the highest grossing film of the year so far. I still haven't seen it. I never saw the first Inside Out, so I really don't have any kind of connection to it.
Inside Out 1?
I don't need Bobo or whatever the
His name's Bing Bong.
I saw Coco a couple years
Coco.
after it came out, and I thought it was fantastic. But that was the point where I was.
You liked Soul.
I did like Soul, and that was all when we were locked up in our houses during COVID.
This is true.
Soul
but...
hit the spot when that was happening. I don't think I've been in the Pixar scheme since Frozen. I haven't been actively following them, at least. I have caught some of their movies past dates. But
have you seen Moana even?
Yeah, I've seen Moana. I've seen Moana a couple of times now.
Okay.
Mostly by proxy, but I have seen Moana. I've heard plenty of Moana. Thank you. Moana 2 was originally supposed to be a TV series, and it was turned into a movie. Let the pacing issues begin. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say that
Lin-Manuel Miranda is not a part of the musicals in this.
Because, say what you will about the man, he can't sing, but he can write.
He can write. He writes magic. Every musical that he's done in the past decade has been a hit. Good for him. He knows the way to make things sound thematic. I have nothing but applause for him on that.
That man is married to leitmotifs.
If I have to listen to a Hamilton song again, I'm going to lose my mind. But I respect the craft.
What about In the Heights?
Luca Guadagnino's Queer is coming out November 27th. I've talked about it enough on this show. We'll talk about it again when it comes out. Okay, let's move on to some box office notes. We had quite the front runner this weekend, Venom: The Last Dance.
Your favorite movie of 2024.
Comes in at $51 million and leads the box office this week. Now,
$51 million.
I
think that's what you should be paid in retribution for going to see that movie.
I wish I could. I should have brought an emotional support animal with me in this movie. Good for Venom.
You do, and it's me.
Good for the Tom Hardy group. Enough said. Smile 2 comes in at second place. It grossed an extra $9.5 million this week, which brought it to $40 million overall, so good for them. The Wild Robot is still hanging in the top 5.
Killing it.
Number 3, $6.8 million additional this week with $111 million overall. It is rapidly closing the gap between it and Inside Out 2. I think The Wild Robot's going to be the pick for Best Animated this year.
I think so too, and I was looking through my Fandango app earlier, and I was looking at what was still showing, and I could not believe that it was still showing, because how long ago did we go to see that?
Month and a half or so.
Wow.
It's been 4 or 5 weeks since we've seen it. and it's still just hanging in there. So good for them.
I love that.
Conclave went 6.6 million in its opening weekend, taking 4th place. We Live in Time got an additional 4.8 million this weekend, bringing it to 11 million overall.
Go see that movie if you want to be sad.
No longer in the top 5, but just outside of it with a good note. Terrifier 3 has grossed 63 million worldwide on a $2 million budget. Bringing home that 61 mil has got to feel good for Mr. Damien. Even if he continues to mix these projects for just super low budget, he's gonna be just fine. Congratulations to them for making, I guess, the definitive slasher of the 2020s.
I think it is. I mean, I think not that you can't go up from here, but it's hard to get more gory than Terrifier. As far as slashers go.
Overall, just like Michael Myers. Michael Myers is not hanging in there like he used to, and Jason is not hanging in there, and Freddy does not exist. And
Art the Clown is.
But Art the Clown has taken the land over in this decade, and you know what? Good for them for being able to pull that off. So that rounds up the box office. Now let's talk about the showing we just got out of to bring this out. Let's talk about Here. Now this is Robert Zemeckis' new movie, the first time he's teamed up with the Forrest Gump team since Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks and Robin Wright
and Eli Roth
are major influences on this movie. Tom Hanks and Robin are acting in this movie, and Eli is directing and writing again. I think Tom probably had something to do with the writing in this as well. Just knowing how those projects usually go down, but Paul Bettany also plays a major role in this movie, and I honestly, while I was going through and trying to place the actors in this movie earlier, I was like, and Paul Bettany, without even confirming that it was Paul Bettany, just because he is so Paul Bettany in this movie, and Kelly Riley plays Paul Bettany's wife in this as well, but it focuses on several different points in time through one shot. It shows all of this, like,
the camera
happening
does
from
not
this living
move.
Room of this house. It
Super
goes back
non-linear.
to prehistoric times. It includes Native Americans. It includes the fact that they're the house across from Benjamin Franklin during the American Revolution. It includes the 1910s, the 1900s when the house is built, the 1910s, 20s, 30s, 40s, until it's bought by this family post-World War II.
Mainly focuses on like 4 or 5 couples, I would say.
And there is definitely a primary thread of this movie, which is Paul Bettany, Tom Hanks, Robin Wright.
And then Tom Hanks' mom, who is, I can't remember the name of the actress, but she's played by the lady
Kelly Riley?
She plays Caroline Bingley in the 2005 Pride and Prejudice. Which also, I loved that we had 2 period actresses back to back, because we also had Mary from Downton Abbey in this.
Period. Slay. This movie was...
It was a movie.
It was a heartthrobber. It pushed itself very hard into Zemeckis territory and I think ultimately successfully. There were some parts of this movie that absolutely do not work at all. But I think generally it made for a pretty good time. I put this one down. I was ready to write it off, and about 45 minutes to halfway through the movie, I was warm to it. There's an actual moment in this movie where there's a record scratch, and then there are a couple of moments after that feel like they could have had a record scratch for how sharply they shift the pacing. The screenplay is bad. There's some actively bad acting in this movie.
There's a part in the script where, like, it's a very short scene and it begins and ends with the same line, but not in like a creative and fun way. No, and it just it's just lazy writing.
there were some parts of this that I was like, okay, before I went and saw this movie, I was talking to my family about it, and I was like, okay, this is either going to be a very heartwarming, family-friendly, not family-friendly necessarily, but just generally, like, exciting movie like Forrest Gump, where it's got, like, some periods movie, and that kind of... Or it's going to be insanely boring. By the end of the first 30 minutes of this movie, I was like, this is going to be boring. It's going to be just another hour and a half of this.
It wasn't boring, but it wasn't
it started
thoroughly engaging.
It started warming up as you go more into the Tom Hanks, Robin Wright storyline, where they're interacting with Tom Hanks' parents, who they all live in this house together. Tom Hanks, spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen it already, or if you're planning on going and see it, go ahead and do it. I think it's definitely worth checking out if you're just looking for something that will warm the heart.
Yeah, light spoilers from here on out for it. Just nothing crazy,
note, but Tom Hanks gets his young girlfriend pregnant. Tom Hanks is an 18-year-old in this movie is hilarious.
And that was one of my things that I wanted to say was, like, I felt myself warming more up to it as the de-aging, as the de-aging wore off.
When I don't have to be convinced that Tom Hanks is an 18-year-old, and I can be convinced that Tom Hanks is, maybe a 30-year-old.
The shot of Robin Wright where, like, she is standing close to the camera and she ages in front of you, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, definitely. Now we've got real people on the screen. Because they didn't, I read something about this earlier, they didn't even they didn't give the actors their real eyes in the de-aging, so you don't even have that, because the window to the soul, I mean, that's a big thing.
There were a couple parts that just felt really facetious. There are some parts that I was convinced, and like Emily said, as they get older, it definitely gets more convincing, more palatable. Overall, I did not think it was that bad. It didn't detract any more from the story than I had thought originally, anticipating, Tom Hanks doing A Man Called Otto as his last movie, where he's just playing this ancient curmudgeon, and then coming into this movie and being like, hey, I'm going to play this 18-year-old through 78-year-old guy.
I think the reason I had such not a hard time with this movie, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I wished I would have, was because I had just seen We Live in Time, which, as you guys know, I loved, and it was great, and it was non-linear, and it focuses on intimate details of life and family and love and loss, and this kind of focuses on those same themes, and I thought that We Live in Time did it a lot better.
Yeah, I think that familiarity is a massive key of this movie.
For sure.
I appreciated those parts, as somebody that grew up in a house that they never thought they were going to leave for a very long time, and seeing people leave the house and have mixed reactions to it, and that kind of stuff. All that stuff was massively effective for me. There's also a lot of deteriorative mental health stuff going on here. They do a really good job of showcasing the mentality of different generations as they're moving from the World War II vets of the 40s into the more suave and emotionally vulnerable Tom Hanks character, and moving into the kids that grow up in the 70s and 80s that are just completely changed. I thought a lot of that stuff was good overall. I did like this movie. I did not think it was bad. I thought there were parts of it that did not work, and there were parts of it that really did work. There were a couple of tear-jerking moments. I really thought that there were some. The ending was fantastic. The last 45 minutes leading into the ending, there were a couple of sequences where, like I said earlier with the record scratch, it was like the pacing just stopped, and I was like, what? Why did we move? Why are we in the modern day now?
I really think that, like, when the dialogue worked, it worked, and when the story worked, it worked, and like you said, when it doesn't, it doesn't. But like the times that it did were so great. Like, there's this, you meet Tom Hanks's parents when they first move into the house, obviously, and before they've had any kids, and so you don't really know that they have that connection to Tom Hanks's character yet. But they mention within the first few months of them living there, the new neighbors, Theodore and Virginia, and then later on in the movie, like years and years later, when Tom Hanks is a high schooler, the mom, Rose, she mentions them again, but she calls him Ted and Verge, and I just thought that was like such a cool thing.
Yeah,
like
very endearing,
that I liked. Like,
there's
that
very
felt
endearing aspects of it like that. I totally agree with that. There were a lot of moments like that where I was just like, what, this has a good feel for familiarity and
yes,
just the idea of home.
It's a cozy movie. I mean,
yeah, very, very, very cozy stuff. I think if you watch this, you will not walk away disappointed. Overall, just if you're looking for a heartwarming something, it does not have the deepest commentary, but the stuff that is there is pretty darn good. I gave this one a 6 out of 10 overall.
I gave it a 6 out of 10 as well. Also, a side note: the black lady from the 2020s storyline is the lady from Rumors.
Oh no!
Yeah. I had to look it up because I knew I recognized her.
Looking at the Letterboxd community's review on Rumors, I don't know if I
guess we just not get it?
I think the problem is we did not have the right expectation going into that movie, which was no expectation. People were saying that they went into that movie expecting a soap opera, and that is what they got, and they were very happy with it. That is not what I got. I didn't know anything about that movie going into it. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Rumors anymore. That's water under the bridge.
We're not here to talk about here anymore.
That's water under the G7 bridge, dare I say.
It's time for us to move on to the next movie.
Yeah, let's go on. You want to talk about Woman of the Hour?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so I watched Woman of the Hour this week with my on Halloween with my sweet friends Angel and Maddie. And I will admit that we were partially a little bit distracted because we are a chatty bunch and we were drinking wine and, it does happen.
Chatty bunch.
Okay. I'm going to start off with my actor highlight. I really loved Anna Kendrick in this movie. I think she did a great job. She also directed it. And
acting and directing is not an easy job.
No, and she did... for her directorial debut, this is a good job. Especially looking at what she's come from. I mean, this is the girl that did Pitch Perfect and Twilight and a Justin Timberlake music video.
She's really a good actress. She just got shoehorned into a lot of that stuff in the early 2010s and just didn't have a lot of room to grow out of it.
I also really loved Tony Hale in this movie. He plays the dating game show host, and he's just along for the ride. He just plays the misogynist, nasty guy so well, and it in the best way, and I really loved it. But
we saw something kind of similar with Dennis Quaid in The Substance earlier this year,
yes,
right?
Yes, but it's not to that extent. It's not
as gross and...
Yeah, it's more enjoyable. But for those of you that don't know, this movie basically follows this serial killer, Rodney something or other, and he's a serial killer, and that's what he does. And he ends up on this dating show, and there's several... That was kind of one of my things that I wasn't expecting in this movie, was I wasn't expecting to follow several different female storylines, but you do. And, it took a while for Anna Kendrick's storyline to pick up, and it threw me off a little bit. I thought the pacing could have been done a little bit better. It almost left you... And I don't know if it intentionally left you wanting to see more of Anna Kendrick's story at certain points, but it feels a little long in the tooth sometimes. And but this is set in the late 70s, serial killer, some of his victims, and his time on a dating show.
It's based off of true events, I believe.
Yeah, it is. It is not very true to the true events I have read. I did a deep dive on Reddit, and
emphasis on based.
But yeah, It's a good time. It's a fun movie. Not so much of a thriller. Coming off of all the slashers I've been watching, all the Scream movies I've been watching, and Terrifier and everything, I was like, oh, where's the gore? And I think I just had my expectations set up a different way for this movie. I was also super disappointed to see that one of the most tense scenes in the movie is in the trailer. Big bummer. I saw that as a clip on Instagram, and I was like, oh, this looks like a good movie. And then that was one of the best scenes in the movie. And
the best advice that I can offer for anybody about trailers is, if you are really anticipating a movie and you know enough about it that you're sold on seeing the movie beforehand, do yourself a favor, don't watch the trailer. The amount of times I've seen the Gladiator 2 trailer that has spoiled several of the events of Gladiator 2, stuff that I don't want to know about. Here. I would rather just get the raw experience of checking that out. I know it's directed by Ridley Scott. I know who it's starring. I know that it's Gladiator 2. That's all I need to know about it. That's just, anyway. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Just,
you're good.
Just a note on trailers.
Within minutes of this movie starting, the serial killer comes on screen, and he is wearing this wig that I mentioned Twilight earlier, and Bella, where the hell have you been, Loca? He looks like Jacob from Twilight, but not in a sexy way. And Maddie, actually, to quote, sorry, Mom.
Are you Team Jacob?
I've never seen Twilight. I'm not Team anything, but...
Oh, you know me. I love all of the Breaking Dawn movies.
All the Breaking Dawn movies, part 1 and part 2.
Both of them.
But as soon as he comes out with this wig, Maddie, and sorry, Mama, she says, "Can this guy get off the fucking screen? He's ugly. He looks like Jacob from Twilight." And me and Angel just started dying because we were all thinking the same thing about the wig. And it was just a great moment, and people on Letterboxd seem to agree, and I love that we can all bond over Jacob's wig. This kind of feels like... So Anna Kendrick plays this actress named Cheryl in LA, and she's kind of doing this, like, Emma Stone and La La Land thing. Like, there's this scene in the car with her rehearsing her lines that feels so very La La Land that I almost cringed because it wasn't as well done. But then you also have the thriller stuff. So it's like I saw a Letterboxd review that said La La Land, but with murder instead of musical numbers, and I was like, not 100%, but I see what they're saying for sure. The sound design in the bar scene is really, really good. Like I said, we were talking through a lot of this movie, and this was one moment when we all kind of stopped talking and paid attention.
Which takes a lot to do.
It does. We're yappers. What can I say? But, again, truly just a massive bummer that the parking lot scene is in the trailer. Again, one of the things that got me interested in the movie, and it's just right there in the trailer. I made a comment about this and was validated on Reddit later on about the costumes being a little too early 70s as opposed to late 70s, and Maddie made a comment about the cars being from the early 80s instead of late 70s. Well, so a little...
Should just ask Paul Thomas Anderson for the wardrobe.
I mean, that's my thing. It's hard to come off of a PTA movie loving like that, so and I'm a little bit of a snob for 70s.
70s like, movies are top tier.
Fashion
I
and
really
set
do
decor.
truly believe that my favorite period of movies was the 1970s. I've got a lot of love for the 90s, but it's definitely moving a little bit more towards the commercialized media by the time you hit the 90s. But the movies of the 70s and the movies about the 70s are often some of my favorites. I don't know why. It may just be the music. It may be the collaboration of everything.
It's everything.
Everybody just vibing in the 70s. I love it. Woman of the Hour, rocking.
It was fun. That there's obviously a lot of feminist themes, and you know what it is to be a woman, and being a woman is scary, and it is. And I, again, researching this on Reddit, having my fun at work, saw the term sexual politics, and I think it made me sick because, like, I just started really thinking about it within the context of this movie, and I was like, oh, yikes. Not a fun time to be a woman when there's serial killers running around in the 70s. So, yeah, but fun movie, entertaining
not a fun time
movie.
To be anybody while there's not to not to demolish or
men can
diminish.
get serial killed too.
Yeah, I just think about. I mean, the ultimate serial killer scene for me is in Zodiac, when the lake scene in Zodiac. I think that is the most like terrifying serial killer thing of all time, and basically, I think it's Kevin Spacey who plays the Zodiac in that. I can't remember.
Don't give it away.
But there's this couple that's just sitting out by the lake having like this beautiful little picnic, and Zodiac killer comes out and zip ties him and kills him. And it's just,
maybe I have seen that.
It's terrifying. I mean, it's just honestly chilling. And with some recent news, I think there was a Zodiac Tapes documentary series that just came out on Netflix or something recently. And supposedly, while that actual event was happening, while he was actually tying up these people, he had his little mistress's daughter in the car with him, and then he just went out to the car, killed these people, and came back to the car, which makes it even more chilling.
Aren't serial killers great?
That's
basically that's the vibe you get. Women of the Hour, and there are several women of the hour in this movie. I think that it is not Anna Kendrick. I think it's Daisy.
I appreciate a story like that where you're not leveraging the use of the serial killer in this age of Crime Junkie and all these people. And I mean, most prominently, this week, the Menendez brothers, while people are leveraging these stories of victimization for their own purposes.
This is certainly a victim empowering movie, I would say.
Yeah.
It's about the women that got away.
I think there is a very big through line of respect that you can hold on that, and from what I've heard about Woman of the Hour, it holds that through line. Nice.
Yeah, good movie.
Good stuff.
I gave it a 3 out of 10. Or, sorry, 3 out of 5.
10.
Sorry, 3
good
out of
shit.
5.
Sucked.
3 out of 5. I was thinking about Letterboxd, but also... So 6 out of 10. I guess the same as I gave here. But maybe I enjoyed it more than here. Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, that's the point of Letterboxd. You can go back and adjust your rating. I checked out a few things at the house this weekend. There's three movies I wanted to touch on pretty quickly, just as recommendations. But first, in the Halloween spirit, had to watch John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, John Carpenter's The Thing is a staple of body horror, period, but I think just horror movies in general. This movie came out in 1982 and has some of the best practical effects ever put to screen. It has some of the best environment. It's just terrifying. I mean, it is truly just, the intensity ratchet is down the whole time. It moves from what's going on to who's it going to be to who actually is it to, okay, how are we going to finish this? And it just, every time it shifts and turns on its head, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know what person is... long story short, if you don't know anything about The Thing, it's about this alien creature that is able to absorb any organic life and basically just spreads itself. Yeah,
it's just molecules, and it can... I looked into it. I haven't seen the movie, but I watched a YouTube video of the breakdown of the monster, and I watched a short synopsis. So I know a little bit about The Thing.
I didn't do that for Woman of the Hour.
What?
I didn't do that for Woman of the
Hour. Hey,
that's
okay. I thought you said I didn't do that for Woman of the Hour, and I was like, I watched the movie. I didn't need a synopsis. But yeah, like super interesting stuff. I will have to send you that YouTube video about the breakdown of the monster, because it was wild talking about the molecules and the science behind it and like the thought put into this. And it's based off of a short story called Who Goes There. And I wanted to read it, but I didn't have time.
Yeah, it's one of the best horror movies ever made. I highly recommend checking it out. There was a Letterboxd comment on this that I just wanted to note here, and it's Kurt Russell pouring scotch into a computer that he loses chess against is the most 80s thing of all time. Kurt Russell absolutely rules in this movie. His hat is way too tall. It's just awesome. The how this movie is shot looks modern to this day. I mean, the opening sequence of it is like this stark white snowy field, and you just see this dog running across this field and this helicopter chasing it, and you're wondering, why is the helicopter shooting at the dog? These are questions that I had, years ago when I first saw this on TV, but it's even more profound just today, the way that it falls out. So anyway, John Carpenter's The Thing. Without saying too much about it, you've got to watch this movie. If you like body horror, if you've seen The Substance this year, if you
just have an itch for something else.
If you have an itch for something that will just knock your socks off, this will do it, I assure you. It has some actively squeamish moments in it. Moving to the other side of the spectrum, let's talk about... Oh, yeah.
Real quick, I just wanted to briefly touch on a movie I watched last night with Maddie. We watched Juno, and I'd never seen it before, and... wow, what a movie. I instantly loved it. There were times when she was talking to me, and like I said, I'm a yapper, she's a yapper, and I was like, shh, the movie. Wow, Michael Cera, romanticized as an athlete. Beautiful. I love so much of this. I love the way that it deals with everything. I love Juno. I think that she is as unhinged as everyone it truly is, but she just acts it. And yeah, that's all I recommend it. I recommend Juno.
Juno's a good one.
Yeah.
Juno's definitely a good one. It's been years since I've seen it, but
fun little flick. I really loved it.
Okay. The next I've got two more that I want to touch on real quick. The first one of which is Ikiru, which is Akira Kurosawa's one of his 60s movies, and I personally think it's not his masterpiece, but it is undoubtedly his most profound movie. This movie follows a guy that is just working, a relatively menial job. He's good at his job, but he's been working there for decades, and he's coping with his purpose in life. What have I been put here to do? And it follows the events of him reckoning and grappling with this idea and what he eventually does to deal with it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But if you find yourself to be alone or scared of what your purpose is, this movie will speak to you. I think that it's just a beautiful tale of humanity, the finest ways in which the smallest influences on our life have the greatest impact. It's absolutely beautiful. It's all in Japanese, so watch it subtitled. If you have an issue with subtitles, then I don't know what to tell you. But it's all shot just absolutely gorgeously. Every bit of this movie just aches with things to be said. This movie is a 10 out of 10 for me. So check out Ikiru by Akira Kurosawa. The next movie that I want to talk about is Alexander Payne's 2004 masterwork, Sideways. This movie stars Paul Giamatti and Andrew Hayden Church, and potentially like the best casting in movie history. These two are dynamite together. It follows the events of Andrew Hayden Church as he's getting ready to get married. He's getting married to this Hungarian woman. It's going to be a big blown out wedding, and Paul Giamatti is his old college roommate, and he's a writer, and he's not finding success in the writing world. He's an English teacher.
He's recently divorced.
He's just a bummer. Just a bummer. The Prozac nightmare, as we all know him. The progression of this movie is absolutely incredibly funny, heartfelt, well acted. The monologuing is out of this world. I just picked up the Blu-ray of this, which is pretty hard to find these days, and I've rewatched it like twice this week, and every time I watch it, that movie gets better. Paul Giamatti is absolutely outstanding in this role, and Andrew Hayden Church has never been funnier.
This is just like a treat to watch.
Man, there's some raunch in it. There are some very questionable moral decisions made in it that do not reflect my morality at all. But God Almighty, I just love watching this movie. It is like the best buddy comedy I've ever seen. And just the way that it grapples with the one homie who's just having issues all the time, and the one homie who's wanting to have fun all the time.
Charismatic and the downer.
It is so unique in how it deals with these issues. It's not like anything you've ever seen, like The Hangover, or anything like that.
And my favorite part is that for his bachelor party, Paul Giamatti decides to take his best friend to wine country because he's a huge Paul Giamatti is a big wino
in California.
So he just takes him to wine country, and that's just where they are, and they're just drinking wine, and it's
a good juxtaposition of their characters to each other, because beautiful. It's like Paul is like looking at the wine in the light, smelling the wine. Oh, is that an Edam cheese that I'm smelling? And Andrew's like, when do we drink it? Oh, now, and he drinks the whole thing. It's so excellent. Anyway, watch Sideways. It is on sale on Vudu for $5 right now. It is one that you'll want to keep in your library.
I'll buy it for you. I'll Venmo you right now.
I already have it.
No, I'll buy it for the listeners.
If you DM me on Instagram, I will send you a voucher for Alexander Payne Sideways. I absolutely heart emoji for this movie. This is just top notch stuff. That's pretty much everything that we watched at home this weekend. So more or less,
a lot of home movies. A lot of just being homebodies.
We're just looking forward to some real stuff coming out.
Heretic.
We do have Heretic this weekend. We will be seeing Anora this weekend, so we'll give you.
Anora is next week.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Yes.
It may.
If we can find it, at a Regal or something, close to us, then we'll go see it. But
I think Blitz will be releasing too. There will be a couple of things that'll be hit or miss this week, so we'll definitely be checking some stuff out as it goes. And then next weekend we'll have Anora, Knoxville Film Festival. I'll definitely be covering some stuff from that. I want to try and get some interviews from some people while we're up there and just talk about some of the smaller projects, because I love local work, and I love seeing like the little ways that people are trying to push and influence the medium, and I'm very excited to see what some people have got going on. Supposedly, there's some pretty good showings at the Knoxville Film Festival this year. So
I'm super excited.
We'll definitely be seeing some good stuff. We have all 3 days booked, so we'll be going to see movies and shorts on all 3 days. One of Danny's former directors and a very fine gentleman himself, Mr. Eli Heaton, is going to be debuting his short at this film festival. I'm definitely going to be checking that out and trying to talk to him a little bit about it. But yeah, we're going to be checking those out over the course of the next few weeks. And Anora, Heretic, Blitz, A Real Pain. Those are the upcoming big four that we will definitely be seeing. So we'll get back to you on those as they come. But in the meantime, we'll go through with our weekly highlight this week, and we've got a little bit of a battle of the genders.
Yes, sir. It's we got a real Barbenheimer kind of deal going on.
Boys, I need you on my side. We are doing one of two things this week. Either Emily is going to be covering Pride and Prejudice,
the 2005 version with Keira Knightley and Matthew McFadyen.
Thank you for clarifying.
Well, you have to. I can't talk about 6 hours worth of the 90s
The BBC
version.
one?
Yeah.
Emily's going to be talking about 6 hours worth of the BBC Pride and Prejudice, or I'm going to be talking about Mad Max Fury Road, which is just the most rip-roaring action movie of the 2000s. Or 2010s.
We can talk about the hand flex scene in Pride and Prejudice.
Or we can talk about the opening 30 minutes of Mad Max Fury Road being the most perfect an action movie has ever been.
Or we can talk about the beauty of eye contact.
Or we can talk about Mother's Milk and all the good stuff that comes with Guzzolene and Chrome.
Or we could talk about Mrs. Collins' little feather.
Or we could talk about post-nuclear, just nightmarish tribes rolling down the street at each other, and how much Furiosa is not a full realization of that.
Hey, girly pops, vote for Pride and Prejudice.
Boys, if you don't vote for Mad Max Fury Road, I'm going to lose my mind, and that's enough said. I'm going to say, witness me, and jump off of a cliff. Anyway, we're going to be putting up a poll on our Instagram, so definitely be sure to check that out.
And vote for Pride and Prejudice.
Right. We have quite the voting situation going on in our country right now, but if you want to see something that your vote actually matters in, where it actually ticks a percentage number, and you can say, oh my gosh, that one little percentage made all the difference in the world, do it on our Instagram page, because we have got plenty of time for that. God bless you.
But also go vote for real.
Go vote for real. Yes, please go vote for real. This is just a bit. This is not to exercise your right. You live in a democracy, and we deserve the right to speak our voices. But
go vote on our Instagram
is always the right vote.
Come on.
Anyway, that's it from us this week.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Yeah, engage with us. We'll definitely be around if you got any recommendations for us to check out or anything like that. We'll totally see it. But other than that, hope you guys have a fantastic week. We will see you Thursday morning for weekly highlight, boy or girl version. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun week. We'll go see some movies next weekend and catch back up with you on the other side.
All right, boys.
Adios.
Have a good night.